So we're now on day 59, and what I thought I would do is just give you all a few more observations of the joint venture that I had done with Dan Deline and kind of tell you what the progression was after that. And so if you haven't watched day 58 yet, you might want to go back and watch it because there's some really good takeaways in there. And I think they actually made the 120,000 in 4 days, not 10 days. But I can tell you this happened a long time ago. And it did help me a lot because before I wasn't selling niche products. And so I had created guerrilla marketing, customized training for small business owners. And then after that, guerrilla marketing, customized training for carpet cleaners. And after that, I created guerrilla marketing, customized training for hairstylists. And so I did well in the niche marketing for a while and created a lot of courses in that space. But what's interesting about all of this is eBay was on the decline at the same time I ran into Dan. And so the revenue was falling off every month from eBay. And then when I met Dan, I had this huge cash injection and we did really well for a long time. And then Dan, when Dan was no longer working with me, that's kind of when I decided I was going to draw a line in the sand. And rather than continuing to create products, because I wasn't sure how I was going to sell those, I was going to just do coaching. And I was going to just do coaching. So I was going to do the 100 strategy sessions, have conversations with a lot of people, and see if people would hire me. And fortunately, when I did that, I was able to make the 5,000 in 4 days. And the transition from course creator to selling coaching went really well. And then I was able to go back and start creating courses again. And so I was selling coaching and courses kind of pretty much at the same time. But that joint venture was a real learning experience. Now, the other thing too, when I went from doing the JV with Dan to actually getting on the phone and doing strategy sessions, you got to keep in mind they had just made $120,000 and I had helped them to do that. And so my first real coaching client who wasn't hiring me for coaching, but it ended up being that way, made $120,000 on his first launch. And I was a part of that. So that did give me a lot of confidence. Now, the other thing was I had been, by this time, I mean, I've studied marketing well over 15,000 hours. It might be 20,000 hours now. I would be embarrassed to say how many hours it's been. But when I first started out, I was studying marketing 80 or 100 hours a week, literally every day. Every waking hour of every day, I was listening to Jay Abraham for the first 6 months. And then I went on to Harbecker and then Dan Kennedy and then everyone else started coming in. But the first 6 months, it was only Jay. And I still study marketing to this day. That's the other thing. And it's been, well, since 2005, so 19 years now. And so it's been a long time. But that joint venture that I did with Dan really opened a lot of doors, and it did give me the confidence to start doing some of these other things. And so I was able to get wins for a lot more people. But if you look at the progression of what I was doing, I was selling courses. I bought a flyer off of a guy who I did not know. I got a call, I jumped on a call with him, and he and I ended up doing this deal together, and we ended up making a lot of money together selling my products to his list. And that worked out really well for both of us. And so I just want you to see the progression, but there was never a plan there. I didn't say, I'm going to go out on eBay and I'm going to buy something. I'm going to find someone to start selling my stuff for me. And I'm going to create 6 products in the carpet cleaning niche. And I'm going to have somebody selling those for me. Another thing you need to think about too, the value of owning a list. Been saying it over and over and over again. And the money is in the buying audience. The money is in the email list. The more people you have on your email list, the more money you're ultimately going to make. And the reason Dan Deline did so well is because he had by the time we did the launch, I think it was 2,800 buyers. 2,800 buyers on his email list. And remember, a buyer's worth 100 times more than an opt-in. They had all bought that carpet cleaning flyer. And so we knew that that's the reason everything worked so well. And Dan made all this money only from having the list. I had to do all of the work to create the product, package the product, mail the product. And Dan was able to make half of the money. And all he had to do is write an email sequence and hit a button. And so I want you to really think about that. And as a side note to that, I got a part 2 to that now, and I'm going to go over it with you. And I would have told this in the first in the last video, but the last video would have ended up being 45 minutes or so. So they made a lot of money. They made 120,000, and like I said, I think it was 4 days, not 10, in a very short amount of time. And they were steadily bringing money in, a little bit of money here and a little bit of money there. And Dan was like getting other opportunities because he was selling advertising. And so, like I said, he certainly didn't need to do the joint ventures with me, but Dan spent a lot of money as well. So he moved, he bought a double wide trailer, he bought 13 acres, he got new furniture, he did a lot of stuff, and moving from one state to another. And so about 120 days in, Dan came to me and he said, I'm going to run out of money. We need to do another launch. And I understand that. I get what he was thinking there, and I got the mindset. And Dan was like, this was Dan's mindset. He said, yeah, we're going to add more stuff to the launch, and we're going to give them more bonuses, and we're going to increase the risk reversal. He wanted to do all kinds of things. And he said, what are your ideas, Manny? And what I told him was very simple. I said, Dan, you made $120,000 by sending that email series to your list. You sent 4 emails and made 120,000. And you have about 2,800 on your list. My mindset is, why don't we just send that same 4 email sequence to your list again? And they sent that same email sequence to his list, and they made another $120,000 in 4 days. Now, a couple of things. One, the email series that we sent was an email series that I just got from Dan Kennedy and kind of rewrote it for the carpet cleaning niche. And I gave it to Dan, and Dan Deline, and he made it better. And then he gave it to me, and then I made it better. So we had this 4 email sequence, a simple 4 email sequence that I got from Dan Kennedy. And I had also learned that if all things being equal, if you send the same email sequence to the same group of people, another 10% will buy. Because what happens is all of the people that missed the first launch will want to get in on the second launch. Plus, now you got all the testimonials from the people who bought the first time. And so those people want to buy. Those people want to buy now. So and the other thing was, my understanding was that 10% of the people would buy, and 120 from 2,800 was less than 5%. And so I felt that he would probably sell at least 10%. And like I said, they ended up doing really well. And they launched another product as well that did about 450,000, but they didn't do the millions of dollars I thought they would do. But I just thought I would kind of tell you the progression a little bit and a little bit more inside baseball about what all that looked like. And I think that if it hadn't been for that, I don't think I'd have been as successful selling the coaching at the start. I think the reason I was successful selling the coaching at the start was because I had all this knowledge, but I had the confidence of what we had done. And I really felt like that I was an integral part of that. And I don't think, I don't, like I said, I think without that, I probably would have had way, way less self-confidence. And so I think that helped me some. But I just thought, like I said, I also wanted you to see the progression, because I'll be honest with you, I never planned on creating 85 products. I never planned on doing 3,000 strategy sessions. I never planned on doing the JV with Dan. All of these things just kind of happened, and there's been many, many, many of those stories that have just kind of fell into place. And so I just wanted to walk you through all that. But we're going to end out, and I will see you on the next video. And thanks a lot.